JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is a manga that started in 1987 by a guy who changed his first name to Hirohiko because he liked that if somebody from Europe pronounced it, it would sound like the word erotic in Japanese. In 1991, he then went on and created his own personal company and manga studio by the name of Lucky Land Communications, which is the copyright holder listed on most things JoJo. Oh, look at that, it's JoJo's little hat thing. The most popular and well-known figures are the SAS ones, which stands for Super Action Statue, with Medicos as the main manufacturer throughout the years. One thing that bugs me though, that was recently pointed out by a friend of mine, is that these guys have statue in the title, even though their main selling point is their articulation and how well they can copy poses from the cover. This makes zero sense because Medicos already has a static statue series for JoJo called Statue Legend. A bit weird. Now, a lot of SAS have separate one-time releases that are exclusively sold through entering an online raffle on Medico's website or getting to buy one at their corresponding Wonder Festival. OneFest is Japan's premier biannual event for figures, sculptures, and garage kits. Numbers made for these usually range around 1 to 2,000 most of the time, with some fringe cases which we will mention in a bit. My issue with these is that the most recent ones are the first time the character is ever available as a figure, well, at least in the SAS line, and they usually don't have things in the general release that are pivotal to the character. Worst offenders? No. Egregious offenders to this are the Part 7 releases. Act 1 is a OneFest exclusive in both color variations. The Ego Semi-Dino face is another example of this. Zeppelin's hat for Speedwagon. Bro, he wears this for a third of the part. I could go on, but like the list won't end. On the fringe cases I mentioned earlier, the Clear Sauce and the Niche Fest that are the Swarovski releases. Now, these are kind of funny to me because it costs an arm and a leg just because of bejewelry they have on them. Most of these were only available to be bought through a lottery system with 50 to 100 of them made and costed anywhere from 30 to 40k yen on release. They now go for 60 to 100 depending on the character. A somewhat downgraded series now exists called Crystal Limited Edition, which isn't as popular because it got criticized for its use of cheaper crystals instead of the better and more well-known Swarovskis. Now, the rarest ones are the two Clear Sauce, Killer Queen, and Zawardo. Zawardo had only 50 copies made and was given out by lottery to whoever bought the OneFest version of Killer Queen in 2011, which only 3k were made, and applied for it by sending an application attached with the figure purchase. Similar deal with Killer Queen, but only 25 were made and you had to bought OneFest deal back in 2012. There's barely any pictures of these guys on the internet. Zawardo might drop in price soon though, because a new clear version of him is about to release in OneFest 26. OneFest editions of Statue Legend releases exist, with mainly color swaps, but some cool ones like the glow-in-the-dark version of Shadow Dio, and Kira having his Kawajiri appearance as his OneFest edition instead of a simple color swap. Now, there's a final line of static JoJo figures known as JoJo Art Collection, but with a separate line called JoJo Art Premium, one of the most well-known ones being this beautiful half-body of Jonathan, the Jolene and Poochie ones, and the horses of the main three stooges from Part 7. Two of these guys had their own OneFest limited edition bundles with the characters. Now the premium series only has 3 releases. All look amazing, but cost a bit more than your average JoJo art release. Now it's up to you if you think they are worth their price. I surely did for Jurassic Boy because he's in the mail and I'm waiting. Okay, so let's address the elephant in the room here. There's like a gajillion of prize releases, and they're all separate for the Medico stuff. Prize figures are a thing for most anime and game IPs, and maybe even a given at this point, and this video will never, ever, ever end if I get into those, so we're just gonna act like prize figures don't exist for this one. Now, I'm sure you've all seen the JoJo Nendroids, but weirdly enough, Di Molto Bene, a subsidiary of Medico's, made a knockoff Nendroid line called Minissimo, which probably derives from the Italian suffix "issimo," which means very, so the line translates to very mini? Only 5 of these guys were ever released back in the mid-2010s, and to be honest, they looked kind of funky, especially Kira. Jesus Christ, look at this dork's mug, ugh. An Okuyasu and Koichi one were meant to be made, but they were soft canceled, as in they never got a release date. Too bad, because they actually looked kinda cute, unlike their counterparts. Now, another notable cancellation is the Jonathan Figma, which, damn, he looked kind of fire, not gonna lie. Sadly, he'll never see the light of day. Real action heroes. My personal favorite line of JoJo figures. I love these. They aren't perfect. They are defective as all shit, but I love them, man. The stands are perfect. They look perfect. The scale is insane. Dear sweet baby Jesus. But they have insane color leakage, and finding some of these guys in decent condition is close to near impossible. My god, these guys just have insane maintenance, and I cannot recommend them to everyone. So these guys are quite old now. They released between 2010 and 2012. All the characters have a height of around 30 centimeters, with the huge exception of weather that becomes huge if you attach a stand. All the characters that were not Wonder Festival or Amazon exclusives included a code to buy their corresponding stand on the Metacom shop. The stands range from 30 centimeters to a whopping 38. They're stupid huge and don't even fit properly into Tolfs. Kind of why I bought this TV stand, so I could display them all comfy and nice. They are my grails, and I adore them. Just look at them, you know. A sort of spiritual successor to these by a Hong Kong company called 30 is the Fig Zero series of figures standing at 29.3 centimeters tall that will retail for 29,000 yen next month in February, with the first one being JoJo. I'm kinda iffy on this guy's face sculpture, if I'm being honest. Bruno was also announced as well, and he's slated for a September 2026 release. A sculpt for JoJo has been revealed, but not much more info on his Fig Zero has been made public yet. Yeah, okay, you can make figurines and stuff, but what else can you make after that? Well, T-sets, of course. In 2017, Noritake partnered with JoJo's and made official cup and saucer sets for Kira and Rohan. And the promotional material, man, it's something else. In 2020, they did the same for Giorno and Bruno. All these cost 9K in release and are somewhat sought after, especially the Kira one that barely ever has any listings. In 2010, Bonpresto released this Moody Blues themed clock as a D prize for their 2010 Ichiban Kuji Venta Oreo prize contest. This guy takes AAA batteries. Now we have watches, tons of them actually. Most notable ones were the 2019 Seiko collab that had only 1K made of each. These sold for 51,700 yen each. These are highly sought after and get scalped for insane prices. I keep seeing the Mista watch for 2 to 3 times the price, and the Bruno watch usually goes for $1,000. Now we have an even more premium release in 2022 that also had 1K of each made, with the Sony Wena 3, costing respectively 59K yen for Jolene, 70K for Jotaro, and 75K for Poochie. But damn, Poochie's my favorite. His one looks sick. Apparently there was another Seiko collab for Golden Wind, but only 300 was made for each one, and there's barely any pictures of these online. They retail for 44K yen each, and I almost never see them get an auction, and when they do, dear sweet lord. Honestly, they look kinda underwhelming compared to the newer ones. The references are there and nice, but they're kinda too subtle for my liking. A more mid-range, affordable release took place in 2017 with the 2 Universal Studio Japan watches, one for Dio and one for Jotaro, and both went for 8,000 yen. In 2023, Muse Communication also released 2 watches, one for Jotaro, one for Jolene, both retailed for 22,000 new Taiwan dollars. In 2023, a company I will not attempt to pronounce released several LED watches, but apparently they costed 9.90 yuan, which is basically nothing. I'm not sure if the price is right, but it's the only one I could find. The same company released 2 more regular watches for 38.70 yuan. Alright, we're done with the watches, guys. Okay, some of you might have seen the very horny Bruno pen. Yeah, this is a pen, not just a figure, and a lot of these released between 2019 and 2024, with the last ones being the 2 Rohan ones. They look so funny being held in the promotional material, man. You can find them for close to MSRP, but for obvious reasons, Bruno's is the most scalped one so far. They all retailed for 5,500 yen, with the exception of the Rohan ones that went for 6,600. So, you got pens. What about underwear? Yeah, these definitely exist. Make of that what you will. I'm not gonna linger on this too much. Now, the more notable garments of clothing are the collabs. The most well-known one that has gotten a lot of social media coverage is the Glamp one. And for very good reasons, dude. These are just so well done. They had multiple collabs done throughout 2020 and 2024. I actually own way too many of these jackets and some shirts as well. They made everything, even shoes. Still known for these. These little neat pouches they made for Mista are some of my favorites as well. They retail for 18,700k yen, and I was really blessed to nab one for cheap on Mercari. The Sukajan jackets are another story though. They retailed for a whopping 38,500 yen. Bro, Glam even reached out to Dickies to collab with them to make fucking JoJo jeans, dog. That's insane. That's like a collabception, honestly. A more affordable one, but less flashy collab are the multiple Granif collabs. They start in November 2023, and the latest and 5th collab released last year in November. They mainly consist of shirts, hoodies, and more simple items like caps and socks. There was even a Stone Ocean backpack as well. Karkuri Tamashi did 3 collabs from 2023 till 2025. With the sickest reversible Sokajan known to man. But dear lord, the prices on these, even the shirts were expensive as hell. JoJo skateboards? Yeah, we got those too. Element dropped a collab this January with 8 boards, all themed around part 3. They retailed for 14,960 yen, which is a typical price for an Element deck. My favorite has to be the Dio one. Part of the oldest clothing collab is Ultraviolence's Kira Yoshikage ties. They released in 2008 for 9,975 yen and had 4 color variations. They had a separate release with a Jacquard tie that came in 2 colors instead, that was slightly larger and more expensive, going for 12,600 yen. All these ties were 100% silk. The collab started in 2007 and continued till 2011. They even made some stuff for Bao and Cool Shock BT and even Dolce and his master. It was more of a Hirohiko Araki collab rather than just a JoJo's one, which is quite cool. The Jotaro belt was another standout item. It retailed for a whopping 36,750 yen in 2011 and was made by Cow Leather. The collab started in 2007, continued till 2011. The Kira ties were re-released in late 2016 for 9,900 yen as part of a Kira-themed lifestyle production by the Bandai fashion brand. They came in 5 colors and I'm a proud owner of the blue one. Weirdly enough, they made 2 more separate versions of the blue one that had a silver and gold variant. Same with the green variants. All the Bandai ones were also 100% silk. Now, we spoke about underwear, clothing, but there's one garment we haven't mentioned yet, and that's shoes. Some of you might have already seen some of the All-Star shoes. The first pair was released in 2013 and was a Phantom Blood themed one, and came with a cool little stone mask light-up keychain. They retail for 10,780 yen. The other waves were slowly released after that as the anime aired. Jotaro was released in 2014 for 12,100 yen. Kira and Rohan were Wave 3 in 2016 and costed 24,200 and 12,960 yen respectively. Jolene's were released in 2023 for 13,200 yen. In March of 2019, Vans released a Part 5 collab releasing 2 pairs themed around Giorno and Bruno. They both retailed for 9,720 yen. In April of 2024, Reebok also did a Stardust Crusaders themed version of their Instapump Fury 94 sneakers, which is one of their most signature products. These bad boys would set you back a whopping 27,500 yen. Now, the final JoJo shoe collab dropped in August of 2024 in the form of Vento Oreo Mela pumps. 7 pairs were made. They all came in 2 editions, on or off, as in with or without ribbons. The on versions went for 30,800 yen and the off ones for 28,160. The box for these was incredibly premium, and as a bonus to whoever purchased these from the Mela store, they would also receive a limited edition Polaroid style card. That's it for the shoes. In 2022 and 2023, Corsair released Jolene and Jotaro mechanical keyboards. They also made matching mouses and mouse pads. They were sadly a China exclusive. Absolute favorite JoJo accessories is this cute little mascot pouch released of the Soul Doll of Kakuin. This guy retailed for 2,200 yen and released in 2016. And now for one of my all-time favorite JoJo merchandise, official JoJo suits. Perfect Suit Factory, a Japanese fashion brand for business attire, has done 3 collabs with JoJo's. The first one was a Vento Oreo one back in February of 2020 with 4 separate sets themed around Bruno and Giorno. The jackets retail for 30,800 yen and the pants for 13,200. Both of these had a ratio of 50% wool and 50% polyester. They also made multiple bow ties, pins, socks, and bandanas as well. The second collab was in December of 2020 and featured 3 setups for part 4, one for Josuke, one for Rohan, and one for Kira. Jackets and pants were sold separately for the first 2, but for Kira they made an exception and sold a whole set for 53,900 yen. All these had the same material composition as the previous collab. Ties, pins, and socks were also made for these, and cool little novelty shop bags were handed out as a bonus for whoever bought these. The third and final one was done in late December with 3-part 3 sets. The prices for all of these can be shown on screen. I get the price increase because inflation, but the materials were a downgrade as the polyester to wool ratio was worse with 70% poly and 30% wool. Ties and pins were also made. The bonus for the limited editions of the Blu-rays were also pretty neat and a bit wacky at times. The first set had the Destiny Phantom Blood soundtrack CD. Set 3 had a Stone Mask free-size t-shirt. Set 5 had a Pillarman mousepad. Set 7 had this really cool Wicked Poison ring strap. Now the part 3 ones get a little bit weirder. Set 13 has a pair of Dio Flesh Butt earphones. Set 20 of the anime has a cream raincoat. Set 17 came with tarot cards based on the designs in the part 3 anime. This was kind of a no-brainer. The part 4 bonuses are kinda tame, just soundtracks, Canimation booklets, and production diaries and documentaries. Every volume you also get a bonus application ticket for the Thus Spoke Kishibe Rohan OVA DVD. Some part 3 first press Blu-rays came with an application ticket to buy into the statue spirits of Dio and Jotaro. Part 5 limited editions all came with 28-page production booklets. Part 4 and 5 bonuses were kinda boring compared to the other ones if you ask me. Alright, we'll finish this one off with a bit of jewelry. In December of 2011, Passione Plus launches the JoJo's themed jewelry brand for the 25th anniversary. It featured items from parts 1 to 7 with the exception of 2 for some odd reason. Items range from rings to necklaces and even Rohan earrings. They were quite pricey and the last item was released in November of 2013. It was a short-lived brand. That is compared to the Jam Homemade collab series. I assume this one was a success because 7 of these happened and I assume more will come after the part 7 anime. The first collab was based on the part 4 anime and featured rings and necklaces. I personally really love my crazy diamond ring. So far the collabs have made items from every part has been animated. The prices are a bit premium but nowhere compared to the Passione stuff. Of course they made their own version of Rohan's earrings and even a ring based on the same design. Some stand-up items for me are the to be continued ring and the Pistols ring and necklace. Well, that's it for this one, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you would be interested in watching a part 2 of this, or maybe a dedicated one to just one thing, like clothing, for instance. Well, catch you guys in the next one.